and she was probably the first one that came in with high heels on. And I thought that was very odd. I was like, what is going on here? Like, is she faking it? Is there something going on here?
I didn't know you thought I was faking it.
Well, kind of. I mean, you walk into a physical therapy office, in a podiatrist office, to get your feet work done, and you're wearing high heels. More explanation was needed, so we talked about it.
Live your life within the moment. And don't go wait until the morning. You never know when it is over. All that I know is we'll get older. So let us dance this night away.
So I wanted to start on the docket, Halcom.
So again, our the name of it is Better With You podcast, video vlog.
Podcasts.
I don't know, whatever you want to call it, but it's Better With You because we didn't say it. It's on there, but people might. There could be people that are just listening, and we never said it.
So,
Welcome to Better With You.
Yep, welcome to Better With You podcast with Aaron and Anastasia Halcom. We are your hosts, Anastasia and
Aaron
Halcom. Okay, very cool. Now that we got that out of the way, let's dive into our story.
What brings us here today?
Our story. How we met.
What story? Oh, the how we met story.
Yeah.
Okay.
Are you excited about that one?
Sure.
Yeah, you're thrilled. All right. So I was thinking maybe you could. We talked about this before we even got on here, so we're not going to act corny because that's cringy.
But that's all we do is act corny, I think, most of the time.
Okay. You're going to tell.
Yes.
He's going to tell his side of the story from his perspective.
And you want this back to like where we first came in contact with each other.
I'm going to let you tell it however you want to tell it, starting from whatever point you want to, but you have to cover a couple of basics.
Okay. What's the basics?
So the basics are how we met, what you thought of me when you first met me.
Okay.
When you knew I was the one.
Oh.
Yeah. And then maybe just like a little like teaser on
throwing wrinkles.
I know we didn't talk about this beforehand, but maybe a little teaser on like if it was what you thought being married to me, or if it wasn't what you thought. Wow. And you don't have to elaborate on it. You could just be like,
interesting.
It was, or it wasn't.
You might have to remind me of these a little bit, but way back when.
And then, then remember at the end. So be thinking about it through this whole thing. You're going to have like a wisdom nugget.
Maybe not so wise, but something maybe. I don't know. We'll see.
Share with the class. Okay.
Okay, so I can start now.
You can start.
Okay.
I'm just going to sit here and look pretty.
So, hi. Way back mid 2006 or 2007. I was working in a physical therapy clinic in a podiatrist office in Southern California, and I met Anastasia Hovey for the first time. Not this one, not this Anastasia Hovey, but her mother. And come to find out that in a couple of days after I had met your mom, maybe it was a week, I don't remember exactly, I saw another one on there, another Anastasia Hovey. Like, okay, I already know what we're going to be doing for the physical therapy part of it. And the therapist I was working with was like, no, that's her daughter. I'm like, oh, they have the same name? That's kind of different, but okay. So that's kind of like
it's the second instead of saying junior, because girls don't do juniors. So I'm Anastasia the second.
The second. Okay, so we she came in one day into this clinic, and that is the how I met you.
Cool.
Right? I'm not going to keep going into a lot of in depth on that, but the second thing was what I thought of you. Is that what it was? So she's this is kind of like a silly thing that happens when we tell people our story. Not silly thing, but something was off about her coming in, because she's coming into a podiatrist office to have somebody look at her feet and ankles and lower legs because she was experiencing discomfort and pain, XYZ. And she's wearing high heels, numbness, and she's wearing high heels. And that was kind of like, I don't think I've ever seen anybody. I had worked in physical therapy for, shoot, I don't know, 4 years, 3 or 4 years by that time. And it was not just podiatry. I had worked on with other people with like hand issues and with all joints of the body and backs and such. And she was probably the first one that came in with high heels on. And I thought that was very odd. I was like, what is going on here? Like, is she faking it? Is there something going on here?
I didn't know you thought I was
Um,
faking it.
Well, kind of. I mean, you walk into a physical therapy office in a podiatrist office to get your feet work done, and you're wearing high heels. More explanation was needed, so we talked about it a while. Explanation was needed, so we talked about it a while over the course of a few visits, and
After you made fun of me.
naturally,
Yeah.
and come to find out, the reason was, you can tell it.
Oh, I'm allowed to tell that.
Oh,
The reason was I had been a ballerina for 17 years, and when I would wear flats, I would just go numb and have a lot of tingling and numbness. There was a little damage done to my lower spine and hip area, so it was more comfortable for me because I was always on releve, right? And point. So it was more comfortable for me to actually wear heels. Plus, heels are just cuter.
definitely. But I'm nowhere knowledgeable on dancing and or ballerina. My knowledge of that was very minimal. Not that I have much now. It's still minimal, but not very minimal. So it's a valid and completely plausible explanation of it all. So I don't know
Why the air
I don't know why
quotes?
the air quotes, but
Okay.
yeah. So that's the how and what I initially thought of you. What was the next question?
Now, what did you think of me when I left that office? What did you say to yourself that first day?
Oh, well,
First
I
time you
mean,
met me.
man, that's going way back. So way back, because we're not talking about this whole time, but I remember thinking that she was very pretty, and I definitely had an interest in her. But I remember thinking that you were beautiful, and I liked your personality and your gumption, if you would say that. I mean, walking into a podiatrist office with high heels and everything. I mean, there was just a lot of um, like, that took a certain level of comfortability and bravery on your part, I suppose you can say, to where you are okay with yourself and walking in like that. Most people would probably want to dress down or dress up for whatever occasion they're going to, right? But you are comfortable in who you are and everything and fine with it. So you came in that way. And I just, I liked all of that part of it all. Okay.
Cute. You're cute. I thought you said something along the lines of, I'm going to marry a girl like that someday.
Well, that was probably not after the first day. I mean, that's the first day. I mean, we can't talk about every single visit because my brain doesn't remember half of that stuff. But
that was basically what I was getting at.
over the gist of the few weeks to months that you were there, we talked a lot, and I definitely had that thought of, I could marry a person like this, and I would love to get to know you more. To kind of like add a second caveat to this, I also worked at a restaurant as a bartender slash manager, whatever you want to call it, at a place in Southern California as well. And it's a small family owned operation. And I was working there. I was working at that place on the weekends and physical therapy during the week. So my life was busy because I also was going to school. No, I had already finished school by that time. Never mind. No more school. So
You had a daughter though.
I had a daughter,
Yep.
so a kid and 2 jobs, 1 full-time job and 1 part-time job. The part-time job, bartending, was the job position for that day, and it was a Friday or Saturday night, I don't remember, and we were getting close to closing. We closed at around 10 o'clock every night, and it starts to really dwindle down. It's more of on the fine dining type of restaurant, with an open, like, full service bar as well. So um, it started closing down, and we were starting to turn lights off. We closed down the entire front restaurant because it was slower. And in walks very, very quickly. In walks Anastasia with 2 of her friends.
We didn't walk in.
Well, okay. Somebody made a foot inside of the door and then saw me and turned around and kind of hastily escaped out of that bar scene.
I saw
bar
you through
area.
the window
Yeah,
because
but
we were knocking
I
on the
think
door.
one of your friends had walked in. They were in front of you, and you were, I think, the second or the third person there. So, anyways, turned around and was like, "Nope, we're leaving." That's what she was saying to her friends, and then they left. So you can expand on that. I'll let you tell your story on that, and then we can go from there. But that answers kind of the first 2 questions that you had asked me.
You're doing great. You're really staying on time and everything. It's awesome. You didn't go down any rabbit holes.
I'm not.
You're so different from me.
Oh, are we going to go through some rabbit holes here? Okay, so wait a minute. Are you going to start with your how and what?
No.
Because the how is pretty much the how,
Okay.
right? So your how is the
Well,
same as my how?
No, it's gonna be from my perspective
Oh,
versus yours. What I
okay.
was thinking and stuff. Okay. So now you're going to answer the question of when did you know that I was the one?
Okay. So we I had okay, so at the time I had left physical therapy and worked in a restaurant in a second restaurant in Southern California at a hotel restaurant. And just prior to that, we started dating on the outside of physical therapy. So 2 jobs working in the restaurant business, and both of them actually. And we started seeing each other on off days and when I'm working, and kind of one of those things where anytime that I was off of work, I was trying to hang out with you.
Yep.
And anytime that you were off of work, you were allowing me to hang out with you
Yeah, that's true.
because it was
I allowed you to hang out.
more of a one-sided thing at the time to a point. But pretty soon after, we legit were spending every day
Mhm.
one way, a couple hours, maybe an hour, 2 hours, 4 or 5 hours, whatever, before and after work. Not before. Well, it depends on the weekends. It might have been before because I would work at nights on the weekends. But anyways, where was I? Rabbit hole.
When
Maybe.
did you know I was the
Oh,
one?
pretty soon after seeing you on a daily basis, I kind of had that idea of this is somebody that I want to spend the rest of my life with.
But you
There
said
you go.
you already knew that.
I knew that, but like that was the more implanted part of it all. Like before it was like I could, and now it's like I would, or I can. Like could and can. I know it's weird verbiage, but before is like I could see myself with somebody like you, and then it was into I can see myself with you. Like I could feel like I would be better with you.
I see what you did there.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay, so pretty soon after we were dating, or at least not really dating, but
So did
hanging
you know I
out.
was the one before we even officially started dating?
I feel like I did know that you were the one before we were officially dating, but remember, I had made a pledge to you
Mm,
that I would not propose to you
yes.
within 30 days of you and me starting to date because of things and the track record, I guess, if you will, of gentlemen in your life wanting to propose to you as soon as they started dating you. So I had made that pledge to you. I don't pledge if that's the right word or not, but I had made that promise to you that I wasn't going to do that. But anyways, that was a different rabbit hole that we went down there.
And
Go
I
ahead.
have to say this because it's going to sound like super conceited. So it wasn't that I was like this amazing catch. It was, it was that I was a virgin. And so not having sex with somebody until you get married is kind of a, especially with like within the Christian guys community, was like, put a ring on it kind of a thing really fast. Not that I wanted that to be that fast.
Would you say that is with a lot of Christian communities, or is that just the one that you were raised in? As in, guys are quick to try to put a ring on it without necessarily knowing who they're getting involved with, just for the sheer fact of legally being able to
Under God have sex.
under God have sex. I mean,
Ye-
I don't know.
Uh,
I had never like thought that was a thing until I met her and she
Yeah.
opened my eyes to that.
Yeah. Okay. So I have to say, I think it is an overarching thing within Christian circles, within the church and stuff. And it's how we are going to raise our kids to wait until marriage. But I think it was more of my generation and the circle that I was hanging out with, and also that these guys being boys, not men, and that's all they were thinking about, probably. So that, and let's be honest, I definitely wanted to have sex. I just didn't realize that. I think until with you, I didn't realize I was kind of like ignoring all the other red flags or signs, because I was like, oh, you just make it work with anybody. And you get to have sex, like that was, I don't know. that was definitely a thing.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, there you go. So we
Mhm.
answered my 3 questions.
Okay.
Or 4, I guess. What are, from your perspective,
Mhm.
answer your questions from your perspective.
Answer my own questions. Okay. So how did I meet you? Was that my question?
From your perspective,
Yeah.
how did you meet me?
Okay. So
I don't know how the perspective would change, because there's only one way we can meet each other.
well, you'll see.
Oh.
So I had just had an engagement broken off with the person I thought I was going to marry and spend the rest of my life with. And I was pretty devastated. And so I had sworn off men, and I decided I was going to be a nun, but I was going to be a nun that didn't believe in God. It was a whole thing, don't really know how that works out, but it made sense to my 22-year-old brain. And I had moved back home because I was living in Anaheim area. And so I had moved back home and I was there. And so because I was at home, I had recently started to go to school at MUD down there in LA in Burbank, and which is the makeup and design school. It's a great school. I loved it. So I was doing that and very focused on like, forget guys, F guys, that whole thing. And my mom, but because of that, I would go numb all the time on the freeway. Like I'd be driving and it would start to like just go numb. And I knew I had like 0.2 seconds.
What would go numb? Your leg or your hip or your knee?
So from like my hips down.
Oh.
It would just start to go numb. And then I would know that I had a couple of seconds before I was going to like lose complete sensation. It was like a really weird thing. And I was at this point very out of touch with myself, my emotions, my body. I had basically just like programmed myself to numb out. And so, which makes sense that then also I was going numb. But so I remember this one instance where I was on the 405 and I had to pull over and get to the side really fast. And I just sat there and like couldn't drive because I was numb. And so I had talked to my folks about it. And because I was at home and I was going to school and I was 22, I technically was able to be under my dad's insurance, where before I wasn't. So I got on their insurance, and quickly my mom was like, "Oh, well, you could go to this podiatrist / physical therapy office and get evaluated." So I was like, "Okay, cool." So I end up going to that appointment wearing my heels because, yeah, because I wore heels. Otherwise, flats would bring on the numbness and tingling,
And your black and white shorts.
and my black and white shorts. Yeah. The funny story about those shorts was those were the shorts that I had bought. This is something you didn't know. Those were the shorts that I had bought when so actually I am the one that got dumped. It was on basically this guy has a dream. I've known him since I was 12. We had been like really good friends and stuff, and seen each other through a lot of stuff. And within Biola Youth Arts, that whole like community, and we had been dating. And then he has a dream where I end up like dying in my wedding dress, turns to rags. I end up dying in his arms at the altar. And so he breaks up with me over the phone.
Can I just say something?
Yes.
How ironic is it that he had a dream then, and this is what, 15 years ago,
16 years ago.
that he had a dream, and you were like, what? Why is he breaking up with me over a dream? And now
I know.
you are not deep or not heavy, but you
I'm
are
the
a
dreamer.
solid dream interpretation extraordinaire over here. Like now that is like a pillar of life almost, right? Like our kids and everybody always, like, we wake up in the morning and it's always like, hey, how'd you guys sleep? Good. What'd you dream about? Like that's like one of the first subjects and topics that we talk about. So maybe that was God's way of just kind of,
Okay, God has a sense of humor. That's for
maybe
sure.
that's his way of just like not piquing your interest, because that definitely did not pique your interest at the time, I'd imagine, but it pretty much like started a process in your mind, at least I would think, of saying, why are people reacting to dreams or something along those lines? I guess I don't know,
Yeah.
but you didn't even know it probably at the time until you started getting into dream interpretation. Then you were like,
Right. And I remembered the dream so clearly because I was clearly so upset. So I remember the dream so clearly that to this day, when with all of the dream interpretation courses I've taken and the thousands of dreams I've interpreted, I am like, oh my gosh, I would interpret that dream. Like he knew the exact interpretation. I would die if you married me. Like that was the warning. So it was a warning dream. And he heeded the warning well. But
all right, back to
Yeah.
shorts.
so anyways, so the shorts. I bought those shorts because they were going to be my you broke up with me, you will regret it kind of a thing.
Is that also, I mean, we're going down rabbit holes, but those shorts is an item of clothing that he would not like you to wear as well?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, I was not allowed to.
Not allowed to. Okay.
Yeah.
So you bought them in a rebellious move.
Yeah, kind of like in your face, I'm going to walk away now.
And look what happened.
Yep. And then I walked into the physical therapy office, basically. And I was wearing those shorts. And I remember walking in and like looking around being like, this place is tiny. It's like the size of like an Olympic size pool.
No, Olympic size pool was bigger than that.
Okay.
An Olympic size pool is huge.
That's accurate. I know. I was a swimmer.
I know, but like you can't compare it to like, okay, anyways.
I'm saying that's like, as that was the size
It
of
was
the
small.
entire place. So when I go and I meet this guy who's not the doctor, but like has been apparently assigned to me
Not the therapist
in the
or the
tiny
doctor.
in the tiny little spot. And I gave you some flack. I looked around, I was like, is this is it? Like,
S-
what are we gonna do in here? Because he told me it was going to be an hour, 3 days a week. And I'm like, what are we even gonna? I can't even swim laps in this place.
Well, there's no water.
But I was saying it was so small. It was so absurd to me. So he's talking about how it was absurd, like how I walked in, what I was wearing. I'm thinking this is absurd. I also didn't realize I never been to physical therapy or podiatrist office. So I also didn't realize I thought this was a consultation. I didn't know I was actually going to get like worked on.
Oh yeah, because normally you go to doctor's offices and they just do like their
An
extra money
initiation-
and extra time with the doctor to talk to them and
Yeah.
get an idea, and then you come back the next time and that's when you begin treatment.
Yeah.
Not in physical therapy, sorry.
No. So it was really small. And I didn't know I was going to actually be like doing exercises because apparently you also do exercises. Of course, I know this now. But you know what, guys? I was 22. I was dumb. All right. So,
We just came back from church yesterday or 2 days ago because this is Tuesday.
yeah.
And remember what he said? He was talking about youth, not youth pastors, but 21-year-olds that are trying to, get into ministry and stuff. And they were like, 21-year-olds are stupid. He literally said that while he was talking.
We won't say who it was.
No, but it was just funny.
It was funny. It was very relatable. It's probably not funny when you're 21.
Oh, absolutely
I don't
not.
think I would appreciate someone
No.
saying I'm stupid. And we don't mean stupid as in like non-intelligent.
Right.
Because you're very intelligent. You're like just coming off of, I don't know, 20 years of school.
He actually might not have said stupid. He might have said dumb.
Dumb.
Anyways,
Anyways,
it's just in that subject field, they're not as
because you
advanced.
you think you know things, but it's okay. It's cool.
Anywho,
We all go through it and we all survive. So
okay, so shorts, small place,
mhm,
smaller than an Olympic sized pool,
mhm,
and you were doing exercises.
yes. And you told me to turn around so you couldn't see up my shorts.
Okay.
So I remember I was really offended by that and annoyed. Why was I offended and annoyed by that? Because he called me out on stuff. But remember, I wasn't doing it on purpose. It wasn't like I'm like, oh, I'm gonna my ring
Okay.
again.
Maybe we should have this no ring thing because you're 2 for 2.
Okay. So my impression of you though, so this was the whole experience. And you were the person like showing me around. Wasn't much to show around.
Because we would have 2 or 3, usually 3, maybe 4, depending on what part of the treatment that we were in this small little office with me and the physical therapist. So
Yeah.
it's not like I was just like solely responsible for you. I mean, I had other people I was working with
My
as well.
mom was there too.
Yeah. And the therapist that was working had things that, or people that they were working with and things to do on those people. So it was kind of like movement around all the time.
Yeah. So I'm definitely fish out of water here and not my world. That seems to be a theme in our life. So then my impression of you was basically solidified when he hooked me up to these like electrode things all on my legs. And he goes, okay, so, and he was probably, you were probably trying to be kind of like cool or
I'm
something.
sure I was being really cringy.
Yeah, it was just, there was vibes going on. Now, also, I want to preface this with,
Vibes from me, not from her.
yeah.
And from the electrodes being put on her.
Also, my mom had told me, remember, I've sworn off guys. Okay. My heart's been broken, shattered because of a dream and by this guy. And I'm like in this place that I have never experienced this type of thing. It's just very bizarre to me. It's very small. That was like, for some reason, that was a big focus of mine. It was so small. And I was like, how am I going to spend this much time in this tiny space? So then he hooks me up to these electrodes, notes, things. And he goes, okay, so they just tell me whenever it feels like you want it to stop.
Tell me when you start to feel it.
That's what you said. Tell me when you start to feel it. And I'm like,
Because you always want to get the beginning. Can you handle that lower threshold of feeling? And then it's going to elevate and get stronger. But I want to know when you start to, so I don't increase it faster and hurt you.
so my response to him was, why don't you just tell me what it's supposed to feel like and when I should have it, when I should tell you, and then I'll just do that. Because I couldn't feel it.
Basically, you tell me when I feel it,
Yeah, that's basically what I said.
but I don't have them hooked up to me. So,
Okay.
conundrum.
It made perfect sense to his brain, the way he said it. And it made no sense to my brain, the way he said it. Also, yeah, I had been through a lot. So I was very out of touch with
So
what was going on.
what was the point of bringing all of that up? Like that was, you're supposed to be telling what your thoughts
Yeah,
of
okay.
me.
So I'm getting
are.
there.
So,
I'm getting
okay.
there. I'm sorry. So he does that. He tells me that. And I like something inside me is like, what? This guy can see right through me.
I have an opinion.
And it freaked me out. It just freaked me out. And I immediately decided I did not like him, like at all. And also, I mean, my mom thought you were married because you had a kid, but you were giving me vibes and you weren't wearing a wedding ring. And I definitely knew you were single. So I think I was picking up on that. And then also I was like, I'm so confused right now because I'm so out of my element. And you were wearing corduroy pants that day too. So,
Oh yeah. This was not the
And-
70s.
and your New Balance jeans.
Well, you can't wear.
I mean, your New Balance shoes.
I was going to say you can't wear New
Sorry.
Balance jeans and corduroy. I
You're
don't
wearing
think New Balance makes
You
corduroy
were
jeans.
I don't think they do either. You were wearing corduroy pants that when you sat down, I remember like just like looking and going, oh my gosh.
But I'm tall, so
You are very tall. That was one of our things. I told you I had to take you shopping before I would date you.
and that you did. Okay, so where are we at now?
Oh, I love you now though, Abby. Yeah. Okay. So that was my first impression of you.
When did you know that you wanted to marry me?
That is kind of a tricky question.
Actually, wait, we can't leave it on a cliffhanger because we still have to talk about one more topic.
What?
The bar. The escape out of the bar as fast as you can. Go ahead.
Okay. So again, I see this guy like 3 days a week. It might have even been 5 days a week.
And she hated me.
I didn't hate you.
Loathed me?
I didn't loathe you. I
Feared me?
I just didn't like you.
Just dislike. Disdain? Okay, dislike.
No, just dislike. So it was we're just like, what? And okay, I'm not gonna tell why we ended up at the bar, because
Solid.
yeah. But we were looking just for a place to chill, get out of the house. There was like just annoyingness happening at the house.
When I say bar, when we say bar, this isn't like,
This
you
is
know,
not a bar.
this isn't like 90% of the time. It's not quiet, but like people are sitting and
like a fine
drinking and
dining
hanging
restaurant.
out. We're not like, you know, at a club with music playing and dance
No.
floors. Nothing. Sometimes it was like that, but that was usually outside. But this was like a fine dining restaurant with a cowboy bar kind of a thing. So it wasn't a lot of it was hanging out and drinking, mingling, socializing, that kind of a thing, but it wasn't like loud and obnoxious. It's not like she was going out to rave or something.
Thank you. I'm glad you explained that for me. Not
Necessarily
keeping
for
my
you. it's
keeping
for
my
them.
character intact. So we had actually gone to the cowboy bar that was like right down the street in Acton. It was right down the street and right next to on the same little area as Maria Bonita. Do you remember that one? What was it called?
I do. I don't remember the name of
Okay.
it.
So anyways, it was like a cowboy bar, which I had never gone to a bar. Maybe that's not true. I think I've been to a bar when I lived in Oregon. But anyways, I was a good girl, right? So we are like, let's just go get a drink, you know? And so we go into this cowboy bar, and it's me and my two friends that I've known since childhood. I also was like engaged to their brother at one point as well. So we go into this place, and it is like like in the movies. Every guy there's like 40 and above. First
This
of
isn't
all.
the bar that I was working
No.
at. This is a different bar.
Everyone's like 40 and above, and they're like playing pool. And this was like a bar that basically they only probably have beer bottles in bottles that they give out to you. It's like country. And so they all like stop and they look, and I mean, we just get swarmed real fast by just a whole bunch of cowboys willing to get us a drink. Here's us three girls, very sweet, innocent girls walking in going, I don't think this is the right place for us. So we quickly hightailed it out of there. And we were looking up like other places, but I was like, well, let's not search for bar. Let's just search for a nice restaurant. And so the place that was saying that they were still open, because I believe it was 9 o'clock, not 10 o'clock. The place, remember, I'm telling this part of the story. The place that was open, which you don't want me to say the name of it, right? Okay.
Yeah, let's just keep it kind of, you know, mysterious, I guess you could say.
Okay. So we go there, and I'm in my little, you know, BMW with the top down, and we're just having the whole like fun girl experience.
Mind you, she knew
I did not
while
know.
talking with each other at the physical therapy place. You knew I had told you where I had worked on the weekends.
And this is the part of the story that he insists upon. And this is why I say your perspective, my perspective, because I legit don't remember. Now, I was tuning out half of what he said.
You probably
anyways.
didn't care. But subconsciously, it's like, oh, let's go back to not back. Let's go to that place because I
No, honey. Subconsciously, I was not being pulled in that direction.
Okay.
I was seeing you all the time, and still not, fully enjoying it. So,
I mean, physical therapy is also painful at times.
yes,
too, so.
it was
Physically painful, probably
it was
emotionally.
not like a fun experience. I was in a lot of pain
so you
all the time.
decide to go.
We go. I do not at all remember that apparently this guy works there. So we go, and we go up, and we go to walk in, but the door is locked.
Because we're closed at 10 o'clock.
And so we're looking at the window. I'm like, what the heck? It's a Friday night. Who closes so early? Why is this such a small town? Blah, blah, blah. And so we're like looking in the window. I'm looking in the window. My friend's looking in the window. Again,
Third time's a charm.
yikes. That was my ring. So I'm looking in the window and I recognize him, but he's like dressed like the bartender kind of a thing. So he starts walking up and I'm like, abort, abort. I literally run for the car. I'm like, come on, girls. And they're like, why? And I'm like,
But
I know
somebody had
him.
walked up to the door and opened the door for you guys as you guys were there.
Yeah. Well, right.
I
I
don't know.
won't say his name,
No.
but yes, one of the guys,
One of my coworkers.
yeah, had walked because I think he saw my friend's face. Was like, oh, she's cute. Let's open the door for her. Anyways, my friend, who's known me since I was 7, is like, wait, you know the person in here? Oh my gosh, they'll open it for us. And I'm like at my car at this point. I get into my car, I back it up, and I'm like yelling at them, going, come get in the car. At this point, the door had been opened by one of the guys there. And then he had come to it, came out with them, and they just thought this was hysterical because now they knew
We went out the back employee entrance to your car.
they knew that we were like, or they knew me and knew at this point that this was actually something that would bug me, and they thought it was funny, kind of like the way sisters would be. So they were definitely feeling the vibe, but they were like, hey, if you know this guy, like, why not get a free drink out of the deal? But I was feeling very panicky. Like, wait, what the actual heck? He's here? It just felt like he was everywhere.
So oh, you're telling the story, but
You could say it.
I just want to say, like, I came out and talked to you and your 2 friends and ended up having, I don't know, maybe your friends peer pressured you to come back in, and you came back in and we hung out and talked for a little while.
Yeah,
was-
you peer pressured me too.
Pretty much it. I mean, there's not a lot more to it. The main part of that was like you coming in and
All right, so let me
wanting to
tell
get away.
my part. Okay, so that was all the feelings I had. And then we go in because they were like, well, we're going in. Nowhere else is open. Blah, blah, blah. And I wasn't going to sit in the car by myself. And you would come out and I was like, okay, whatever. And it was definitely different, like, vibe. You were way more in your element, I feel, there at the restaurant. You were just way more chill and kind of cool. And I thought you looked a little handsome.
Not my corduroy pants.
Yeah, you weren't wearing
Sorts of
your New Balance shoes.
hit and
You know
stuff.
what I realized is all that stuff is like cool and trendy now. Like, that is cool, but at the time it wasn't.
Oh, I was
In
starting to make it cool.
2006, 2007, it wasn't cool.
I was making it cool. Single-handedly.
No, you were not.
I started the revival. Please.
Revival. So we go into the restaurant and he is very like, he was suave. I was like, wow. We talked about the gamut of things. I didn't get bored because typically I got bored really easily because I could figure people out pretty quick and I'd get bored of them, especially guys, and just be like, yeah, kind of over that. But I remember distinctly after that conversation from that night being so impressed, going, wow, this guy is unlike any guy I've ever met. And you were respectful and kind to my friends who typically men weren't. And we didn't run out of things to talk about. We talked about so many different topics. And so I definitely left that night like very interested. I mean, I already knew you were interested.
But you were like interested into like hang out with, not necessarily date.
Right. I was not ready to date.
Right.
But I was interested in, like, I was intrigued. And so I was interested to get to know you more and like learn about you. That was more Yeah, those were more the feelings. And I think looking back now, there was a lot more to it than that, but I was so out of touch with my emotions and feelings that I didn't realize or recognize all of that. So, again, good thing that you were persistent. But okay, so when did I know that you were the one? Or no, I'm going to back it up a little bit.
Okay.
When we started dating, because I think this is a fun story. I was like, we were hanging out almost every single day. And he would ask me every single day.
Legit was every single day.
Yeah. And he would ask me every day, will you date me? Will you be my girlfriend?
I don't
Will you
think
date me?
that, from my perspective, is what happened.
It was okay. Maybe it wasn't every day you asked, but he asked at least once a week. It was a lot. It was a lot of asking. And I would say to you, ask me tomorrow. Ask me tomorrow. Okay. So, because remember, I was going to be a nun who didn't believe in God. So, which we laugh about it now, but that was really real for me for a period of time. It was really
Wait,
hard.
you were going to be a nun because you didn't believe in God?
No, I was going to be a nun, just a nun that didn't believe in God because I thought God had led me to my ex before you, and I was all sorts of confused.
Okay.
So, alrighty. So then one day I just decided, turned out it was on Father's Day. I was like, I was bored of some movie we were watching because we were watching a movie. And I was like, I'm just going to kiss him, which was a big deal for me because I had only kissed one other guy before you. So that was a big deal. So I was like, oh, I'm going to see if there's any chemistry, right? And I was really convinced like there probably wouldn't be. It would be like just, I don't know. I had pretty much no expectations. So when I was like, I'm going to kiss him.
Well, it's better than setting some super high, crazy expectation.
Yeah, true.
Right?
Oh my God. So
Maybe that was all part of the plan
what was?
to make you not have any expectations. No,
Well-
I don't have any control over that. Never mind.
Okay, I was like, huh? So I go to kiss him because I was bored of the movie and also just wanted to see like if this was anything more than like a good friendship because we had established a pretty good friendship. I felt very comfortable with you, and I almost had felt like I had known you my whole life, which was another thing for me personally that I always wanted to know the person that I was going to marry. Grew up kind of a romantic Josh Harris, I Kissed Dating Goodbye, holla holla to all the girls did that. Was like the poster child for that. So the whole dream was, the person, your best friends, and then you marry your best friend. Why'd you marry me anyhow? So I can kiss you anytime I want. So it was that kind of like romantic heart, I guess. But when I decided to kiss you, I was just like, yeah, it's probably gonna. I was basically trying to prove myself that that this wasn't gonna work.
So did it?
Well, I don't know. Did it?
Where is it? Is it this one?
So then he actually asked me. I go in to like kiss you. And then I think you asked me my permission to kiss me.
I don't recall that.
I think you did. And then
I might have said, like, are you sure?
that's what it was. Yeah.
Because she had laid out some not strict, but like this is not like this is
Definitely strict.
kind of how I want to go about this whole friendship. Like this is how I think things should be when you're courting or dating or whatever.
Yeah.
And
And I told you,
I
like,
didn't want to cross any of those boundaries
right.
with you.
Right. No, I know
Yeah.
that. You're very respectful. I had basically told you, like, don't propose to me, don't fall in love with me.
Facts.
Wow. If I could talk to that girl today. Anyways, we survived. We made it. So we end up kissing. And I remember being like, whoa, I was not expecting that. And I would say probably, if I'm being very honest, I was ready. That's kind of when I knew. Was that. I think there was different levels of knowing, but it was that. And that's when we started dating.
That's probably like I was saying earlier with I could marry somebody like you, and then it moves to the I could marry somebody. No, not some. I could marry you, right?
Yeah.
Like it's a level of, oh, now I'm starting to think about that rather than it just being the furthest thing from your mind, right? Maybe, right?
Yeah. Right. So that really took me by surprise. Then we started dating, and then I had forgotten that you had switched your job because of that. I remember that now, but I had forgotten because that was a thing.
So then, lickety split.
So that
15 years later, we're here.
It was just fun to like hang out with you.
We hung out every single day.
We'd go to Target together. He would just call me and be like, "Hey, I'm going to take Katie to the park. Do you want to go?" And I was like, "Yes, pick me up."
So I think I started work at like 7:30 in the morning.
Yeah.
And I had to drive an hour to get to work.
Yeah.
And so, I mean, and then you have to wake up and get ready and do all that fun stuff. So I think I'd be leaving the house by 6 to 6:30 every single day
Mm-hmm.
and waking up by 5, well, probably 5:30 or 6, something like that, depending on what it was. I can't exactly remember the times, but we would be hanging out until close to midnight to 1 a.m. almost every single night.
Yeah, except for
So it
that
was-
one day that we hung out to 4 in the morning and my dad had to call
Oh,
me.
that I wasn't working the next morning on that one, but like I would only be working off of like 3 or 4 hours of sleep every day, which when you're young, that can happen. But
And we were legit talking.
yeah,
Like that was the craziest part that I think even till this day, parents and
that's a kind
didn't
of
think we were.
a key, right? To like getting to know somebody is you have to talk.
And here we are talking still
But
today
and still learning
and still
from
learning
each
about
other.
each other. I think it's cute. It's fun.
So adorable.
So adorable. You're so adorable. And I'm still not bored of you. Yet.
I always say yet with that.
He does always say yet. He's always said yet.
Because remember, she gets bored easily. So I'm waiting for that day where she just is like, I'm bored.
Yeah, that's not gonna happen.
Good. I hope not.
'Cause
My goal is to not make that happen.
I mean, yeah. So this is why we keep it interesting, keep it spicy. Little PCast on the side over here. What I think is cool is as we've just like told our story of how we met each other. And there is a lot of turmoil and stuff within our story too, which maybe in like episode 100, if we get that far, we could, as once we establish a little more trust and other stuff, we could kind of get into that part of it. This is like the pretty part. I would say though too that it wasn't until we were married and you had joined the military and I had Ariana and Patrick and we were living in Alaska. And I remember that I got this idea to write down 100 things that I loved about you. And as I started writing down, I got to like 20 or something. And up until this point, I hadn't really cried. Still didn't really cry a lot in our marriage or just in life in general. Now I'm a huge crier, but at the time I had not. And I remember just crying and all of a sudden realizing you are not the person that I ever thought that I wanted, but you ended up being the exact person that I needed and that I wanted, but I didn't know that's what I wanted.
Shout out to God there, because we actually literally had a conversation on a completely different subject with a friend of ours a few days ago about this exact same thing. How God, you ask for God and God's like, oh yeah, we're going to do this for you, but it's never going to be the way that you expect it to be.
I like the way you make God sound like, oh yeah, we're gonna do this for you. We're just
Yeah.
genie in a hat
Genie
over
in a
here.
bottle for you. No, like, yeah, we don't need to expand on that, I don't think, but
Yeah.
it's funny.
God's cool.
Yes.
And I think that's when I really realized, because I was very insecure and I felt very insecure in our relationship and marriage. And so, because, you were an older man, 5 years, my senior.
So much older.
So, and you just had more life experience than I did. So it was in that moment that I went, oh my gosh, like I did marry the right person. And I love this man more than I even knew that I loved you.
It took you 2 kids to figure that out, huh?
Yeah, I guess.
Wow.
Yeah. But
I still have that letter, by the way.
do you?
It's upstairs. I actually found it the other day.
That's cute. You kept it. I'm glad you kept it.
Of
I wrote
course.
100 things that I loved about
I'm
you.
a loyalist. Of course I kept it.
You are a loyalist. Loyal to the core. So I just think it's neat that here in my brokenness and confusion, and I'd basically given up on God because I thought that, talk about inner vows and things, but I had like just told the Lord, I had a lifetime up until this point of hearing God speak and telling me things that were going to happen before they happened. And I thought I got it so wrong with the fiance before Aaron that I was just in a place of like, I don't want anything. And I'm not going to do this. And I really thought, if I'm going to do this, it's not going to be because someone prophesied it, or like I'm marrying him because I'm choosing to do this. And looking back now, I'm like, oh yeah, God orchestrated so many things, just even getting me back home, because otherwise I wouldn't have met him. He was living in Palmdale and I was in Acton, and those were like so close to each other. But before that, I was living 2.5, 3 hours away, So God's just cool.
There it is.
He wrote our love story, babe.
So we talked about the how.
Yeah.
Or when.
What we didn't actually talk about what. So it was in 2007, early 2007.
Early 2000.
It was March.
Yeah.
Because it was March of 2007.
And we got married in 2008.
Stop it. We did.
Yeah, 2008.
Okay.
So
and
we had known each other for over a year.
Yep.
When I think we actually officially started dating
We officially started dating on Father's Day, June 16th.
June, yeah.
Of 2007.
Yeah. So
we eloped.
Yes.
And then we also had a really big, huge, ridiculous wedding.
Yeah. Different day. Different story.
We always say the elopement was for us. The wedding was for everybody else.
Yeah. Anywho. Okay.
Anyway.
So I think that wraps up today, don't you think?
I do.
I mean, I
That
think
was
we've
really long.
we've covered everything about our story of how we met and
Kind of
I
what we
guess how
thought.
we felt about each other and when we started dating, and
Yeah.
that was kind of where we stopped it really actually. So good,
Yeah. So that's good.
good things.
That's us.
So what I was gonna say though is we knew each other for a year.
Yeah.
Over a year before we got married, which is I think that's kind of key, right? Like you need to see
Mhm.
somebody through the
Through all
seasons, if you
seasons.
will. Um,
I think that's important.
that we talked, that we continue to talk. And I
Communication.
know she had put this thing of wise words on me, but nothing super wise. Keep your communication open. Talk to each other. If it's good or bad, talk to each other. You can't ever assume the other person knows what you're thinking or talking about, even though a lot of times we know what each other's thinking and talking, going to say before they say it. Often, not always, but you still need to talk.
We finished each other's sandwiches.
Sandwiches, yeah. Keep the communication open with each other and be honest. And
Mhm.
if you have a problem, say it. If you don't have a problem, say it. But all of that is built, all of that communication and trust is built when you first start dating.
Yeah.
Because if we weren't talking all the time, and it was probably random baloney that we were talking about, it wasn't like, oh, how many kids did you want to have? We weren't having those conversations initially.
We did
We
have those
did, but
conversations.
not initially. And we're just kind of like starting to lay that foundation of trust of this is who I am and everything that I think and feel,
Mhm.
and this is everything you think and feel. And now we're still talking and communicating and telling people. I mean, we tell each other all the time what we don't like about the other. No, I'm kidding.
But it's true.
But you're keeping the communication open. But I have that trust that she is in the same relationship as me and committed and wanting to get better every day to be a better person for our family. So,
Yeah.
is that wise words for you?
That was good. That was a good takeaway. Good wisdom nugget.
Okay.
Wisdom nuggets with Aaron Halcomb.
No, don't coin that. Please don't.
I like wisdom nuggets. All right. So thanks for listening to our story. Hope you talk to your spouse about your story. Just give each other space and the floor to talk. And I think it's good too to just remember things and to hear it from their perspective at the time, because looking back, we can look at it and go, oh, or there's a story that we tell like to people, and this was a little more, definitely more in depth. Um, Normally the story we tell to people is like, he was working on my feet. And then,
So that is a funny thing that you're saying, because oftentimes people always ask like, what's your story and how'd you guys meet? And you always give them the highlights or the Cliff Notes version. Sometimes you give them a little bit more or whatever, but how many times in our marriage have we talked about what we just talked about today
never.
with each other? Today, one time. It's the
Yeah.
first time that we've talked about all of that. Like as in what was it from your perspective?
Yeah.
And it's something that I think it's actually a good thing. It's kind of like going back to those anagram types, knowing what the other person's expectations are, knowing what the other person's feelings were at the time and how they've evolved and changed. So again, goes back again to communication. So, set a date night or put the kids to bed and hang out and with a glass of wine or
Yeah. That
glass of hot chocolate or
Cup of cocoa by the fire.
whatever it is that you drink to enjoy and wind down the night and talk
Yeah.
about the beginning. Anywho, okay,
Anyway.
so I think that wraps up today, don't you think?
I do.
I mean, I
That
think
was really long.
we've covered everything about our story of how we met and
Kind of what
I guess
we thought.
how we felt about each other and when we started dating, and
Yeah.
that was kind of where we stopped it really actually. So good.
Yeah. So that's good.
Good things.
That's us.
So let us dance this night away.